Good evening, everyone. Time for another silver update. I have drawn the lines in for the MACD buy and sell points that I pointed out the other day. If you remember, I pointed out these two tops here and observed that if we really are getting sort of a rollover to a bear market, we will see the failure of the buy signals and the success of the sell signals. Well, it's very interesting right now. We seem to be rolling over to the upside. This MACD has just gone barely negative across the zero line, but it seems to be getting close to do a crossover to the upside. Now, if it does, that's going to generate a buy signal. Although you could say this was a buy signal, it turned around and went down. So, point being that this MACD has almost completely reset itself, but look at the price, it hasn't even fallen. This MACD buy signal was generated after the price fell all the way from nearly 50 to down below 45, 44.5. So a huge move to generate this signal. Very little of a move to generate this one if this actually does round up and go higher. So we do seem to be moving higher. We go into the close charts, and the silver bull seems to be alive and strong. The move today is what Endless Mountain would refer to as a correction through time. So we didn't get any real serious downside price correction, but we did just get a stagnant price, which can be seen as a correction through time. So very bullish so far. We'll have to wait and see how tonight goes. We may get our move through 50 either tonight or tomorrow if the strength continues. Wanted to jump over to Zero Hedge real quick. First of all, there's an article here mentioned about how we've had the second silver margin hike in 1 week. Some of the commentators have said to the effect of, why don't you just go all the way and just make it 100%? That would kind of be game over. So I don't think they want to do that. But interesting. A lot of news coming out about the silver market. Hard to even keep up with. So there's another margin hike. I wanted to point out Silver Shield, I think his name. Anyway, it's a Don't Tread on Me blog, and he's written an article about the APMEX implications. I don't know if all of you had heard, but APMEX had sent out a letter. Here's a copy of it, where they're offering to buy back Gold Eagles $38 above spot, Silver Eagles $3 above spot, and America the Beautiful. So he talks about the implication of this, and that's what I really wanted to delve into tonight, because there's been a lot of talk about shortages or impending shortages, and I just wanted to explain to people how that works and why it's so important that you understand it. So just going to start off with a basic explanation from Wikipedia, and a simple explanation of an economic shortage. Economic shortage is a term describing a disparity between the amount demanded for a product or service and the amount supplied in a market. Specifically, a shortage occurs when there is excess demand, therefore it is the opposite of a surplus. Economic shortages are related to price. When the price of an item is set below the going rate determined by supply and demand, there will be a shortage. Okay, so I want you to think real carefully about this definition. What this is telling you is that if you see a shortage, now there's exceptions, of course, there's things like natural disasters, but in markets that persist over days, weeks, months, etc. If you see a shortage, then what that's telling you is there isn't a real market. That's the only way you can have a shortage. A real market is a place where price is set by supply and demand. Now, if for some reason someone or something interferes with the price setting mechanism and the demand is not allowed to be met with a higher price, you will see a shortage. So we're starting to see hints of that coming from some of the people in Washington. Terms like speculators and things, and anti-market sentiment, and that's the direction that these things go. So I wanted to read you a little article to show you where this ends up. This is a real article, and this really happened. This is from the Zimbabwe News. This is from back in November of 2009. Zimbabwe store shelves empty. I'm going to read this article. Zimbabwean store shelves, normally stocked with staples such as cornmeal, cooking oil, sugar, were empty Tuesday as the government threatened to take over manufacturers and retailers who failed to slash prices by half. So, we have government interference in price. Smaller shops shut down after running out of stock, while at least 190 supermarkets countrywide have been charged with pricing violations, police said Tuesday. In Harare, police raided 40 open market traders Monday, detaining them for allegedly hoarding sugar, soap, and cooking oil for sale on the black market, police said. The raids by government inspectors and police, both uniformed and plainclothes, began Friday after a June 26 government directive ordering that prices for goods be halved in Zimbabwe. So here we have the government coming out and passing a law that prices need to be cut in half. Authorities arrested 20 businessmen and a ruling party senator over the weekend on charges of overpricing. Do you see the insanity of this? Do you see what happens when insane people are in charge of governments? Socialists. When you have socialists in charge of government, people that are insane, they don't understand how markets work, and they scapegoat businessmen. Bakeries were producing a fraction of their normal output Tuesday, as what they could now charge for a loaf of bread, 22,000 Zimbabwe dollars, $1.46, was higher than the cost of supplies, including flour, yeast, packaging. I think they meant to say was lower than the cost. In other words, the government passed a law that people who sell bread have to sell it at a loss. During other recent shortages, many stores installed additional security, etc., 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 near riots. The government said Tuesday the price cuts would not be revoked. Quote, if anything, government wants to see prices further reduced, said Vice President Joseph Masika, who was acting for President Robert Mugabe while he was in an African summit in Ghana. Quote, those found on the wrong side of the law will be punished severely, Masika said, according to state radio. We will take their businesses, we will take their licenses. They have raised prices to a level people cannot afford, so they can die in agony and hunger. Okay, so here you have some government goon who is telling you that the reason why people are going to die with agony and hunger is because of greedy businesses who are raising prices. Actually, the businesses are simply raising prices high enough so that they make a profit. They don't sell at a loss. Because what is a business going to do if it's forced by the government to sell at a loss? It's going to go out of business. It's going to stop stocking its shelves. There won't be any stores. Masika and Elliot Manyika, head of the new government task force on prices, accused businesses of deliberately fueling inflation as a political ploy to bring down Mugabe. The State Herald newspapers reported Tuesday. Quote, "The campaign is political and our detractors through business and industry have been trying to bring down the government the Yugoslavia way. We have a real war. We will overcome them," Manyika said, according to the Herald. Manyika said state-owned enterprises, including Air Zimbabwe, the railroad, and the telephone company, were ordered to cut fares and charges, and a long-defunct state trading corporation was being revived to take over businesses that collapsed or were seized due to what he called delinquent manufacturers, wholesalers, and retailers. In its worst economic crisis since 1980 independence, Zimbabwe faces official inflation of 4,500%, the highest in the world, though real inflation on basic goods is estimated at closer to 9,000%. Disruptions in the agricultural-based economy has led to acute shortages of hard currency, food, gasoline, medicines, and most other basic goods. The UN estimates about one-third of the population will need food aid over the next year. At one supermarket's 10-meter shelf Tuesday, the only 2 packages of goat meat on offer sold within minutes of the store opening. One of the capital's main butcheries, usually open weekends and holidays, was among the shops closed Tuesday for lack of supplies, no longer honoring the pledge on its shopfront sign, open 365 days a year. So, this is an example of what you get when you have people who are in the government who are literally madmen. These people are so insane, they're like King Canute, who's standing there ordering the tide to not come in. They don't understand markets. They don't understand that markets are a natural law that they cannot, by decree, change. And these people are insane. Now, these are the people who are suppressing the price of silver. The same group that believe that you can actually control these things. Well, the only thing you can do is cause a shortage. So, we haven't seen the shortages yet. We haven't seen the empty shelves. But as you can see from APMEX is starting to worry about empty shelves. There's a lot of people who sell silver who have delays, and we may not have outright shortages, but we're nearing that sort of thing. And you need to go back to the simple economic law to understand this is not complex. If you have a shortage of any economic good, then that means the price of the item has been interfered with and it is not being set by supply and demand. That's the only logical conclusion you can come to. So, if you see shortages of silver that are continuous, that go on for a long time, then that is proof that you don't need to see anything else. The existence of a shortage in and of itself is proof that there is interference in the free market. And I maintain that there is still interference in the free market price of silver. It's a kind of managed interference, but they're still suppressing the price. This price of $48 is actually still a ridiculously low price for this metal that is probably the most useful and now becoming the most rare precious metal out there, except for the platinum palladium group. But compared to gold, there's not even any comparison. So again, silver at $48 is dirt cheap. You have to just keep on stacking, and we'll talk to you next time.